Getting into points and miles can feel like a lot at first. Opening up credit cards, learning how to actually book that travel. So today we're sharing some apps, websites, other resources and tips that help make all of this so much easier. Welcome to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Pam, Alex's mom.
And I'm Jess. Let's talk points. So we know that it can feel really overwhelming when you first get started with points and miles, you're just really confused. And there are so many different resources out there. How do you know which ones to actually use and which ones to spend time on? So today we're going to go over some of our favorite tips and tricks and resources to help make your journey with points and miles so much easier and faster and, really keep you organized, stay out of debt, and get you redeeming those points and miles in the easiest and quickest way possible. So Alex is going to kick it off with our absolute favorite app and I feel like the most important resource of all the ones we're about to talk about.
Yes, for sure. So this is number one and the first one we're talking about for a reason. It's the Travel Freely app. We've talked about it before. If you follow us on Instagram, you've probably seen us mention it. We are obsessed with this app. It's hands down our favorite app. If you don't have it, you need to press pause and go download it. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can get it. It will make all the difference in your points and miles journey. So there's a mobile app for, those of us that like mobile apps. There's also a website if you prefer. I actually use both. So they're interchangeable. So you create one login and you can use both. So if I open a credit card, 99% of the time I'm opening a credit card on my computer. And so as soon as I open a credit card, I log into the Travel Freely website. I put in that I opened this credit card and it'll start tracking that information. So we'll get into the details of how the app works. But the number one thing about it is it's completely free. So that's always a win in our book when you can get a great resource and you don't have to pay for it. We have been using the app since 2019. So a very long time. I would like to think that we are seasoned experts when it comes to the Travel Freely app.
Another thing I wanted to say real quick, you mentioned that it's free, which is totally true. But I feel like people get really hung up when they hear about this app because they think, okay, well, it's an app that, helps you keep track of credit cards. And so it's going to ask me to give my credit card information or enter my bank login information. And I don't want to do that. And I completely relate to that. Like, I do not like using apps that require me to enter any sensitive information like that. I feel like I've gotten so many emails and letters in the mail lately, like, your information's been compromised. It just makes me so nervous and isn't worth the risk to use all these apps that require all this sensitive information. Travel Freely doesn't require any of that. It doesn't even ask for a credit card at any point, doesn't ask for your bank login information. So if that's what has been making you hesitant to download it, you don't have to worry about any of that. Go ahead and get it, and totally worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't use any apps that require logging into my bank because it just makes me too nervous that something's going to get hacked. I'm going to lose my points, anything like that. So yeah, great point. We've been using the app since 2019. We have worked with Zach, the founder of Travel Freely, basically since then, I want to say, or soon after that. Like, we got the app, we loved it. We reached out. I think, Mom, you reached out to him and you were like, hey, we love your app. We'd love to work with you. And then, it's been 5 years later, and we still love and promote the app. So, we have a whole episode. It's maybe episode 6, 7. I'm not exactly sure, but it's one of our very first episodes where we actually sat down and talked with Zach. He told us about how the app came to be. Basically, he was a school teacher and running a nonprofit organization. He came up with this idea. He got into points and miles, and it was just like, this is a lot to keep track of. These old school spreadsheets just aren't getting the job done. Like, what could I do to have something better? So he created the app from scratch, and he's continually looking to improve it. So just in the last few months, there's been some really nice improvements. So yeah. So basically how the app works is it keeps track of all of your credit cards. So when you get a credit card, All you do is you log into the app, you put in the name of the credit card, the date you opened it, the app does the rest. So that's another thing that I love about it is the level of time and work that I have to put into this is literally like 1 minute every time I open a new card.
Yeah.
It is so simple to use. So what it does is it keeps track of all of the cards that you opened, and it keeps track of your Chase 524 count. So you know, okay, I'm at 524. I'm not going to be applying for any Chase cards for a little bit. And then it'll let you know, like, oh, I'm under. Now I can apply for a Chase card. It keeps track of when your annual fees are due. So if you can change the settings however you want. But if you wanted to send you an email 40 days in advance, 30 days in advance, it'll send you an email or a notification through the app and let you know, hey, you have an annual fee coming up. And what we've heard from a lot of our listeners and readers who also have the Travel Freely app is one of their favorite features is it gives you instructions on what to do if you want to cancel or downgrade the app. It gives you some pointers. And so I know for myself, when I started and got into the points and miles game, I would open a card and I was already thinking, what am I going to do next year when my annual fee rolls around? Because I was trying to keep my annual fees low. Looking back, I'm like, okay, I could have waited like 9 months down the road to start worrying about that. But being the planner that I am, I liked to kind of have an idea of what I was going to do. So, and I didn't have the Travel Freely app when I first started. So having that now where it's like, okay, your annual fees due in 30 days or 45 days, 60 days, I don't have to think about it till then. I can wait and then the app will give me recommendations. If you want to downgrade, here's what you can downgrade to. If you want to, do this is when you want to cancel your card, buy it, things like that. So
And we've
that's a
been doing this forever, and I still don't like, it is impossible to keep it all straight. Like,
yes.
this is the
Yeah.
downgrade rule for this one. This is the timing considerations if you wanna downgrade this one, or if you wanna like, it is I cannot keep it all straight. Like, I got one the other day for my Capital One Venture business card, and that is one that I was planning to get rid of. Like, I've had it a year. I don't need the Venture X and the Venture X business. And I was reading the email. I was like, "Okay, how do I go about this?" Like, because I cannot keep all the banks and the rules straight, and so having that all in one email is so helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And then it'll also send you bonus deadline reminders. So it'll let you know, hey, you need to meet your minimum spend deadline is approaching in 30 days. So if you're like, ooh, yikes, I gotta see where I'm at. Am I getting close to meeting that minimum spend? Like Jess said, doesn't ask for any sensitive banking information. So we all love it. Each of you, what are your favorite features of the
For
app?
me, it's 5 and 24 because I'm like, where am I at 5 and 24? Where's my husband at 5 and 24? So if I'm thinking about opening up a new card, that's the first thing I want to know. And when does that one drop off? So that
Mhm.
I'm, at 3 and 24, if I'm at 4 and 24. So it just really lets me kind of keep track of when I want to apply for a new credit card.
My favorite they just introduced this year, like within the last few months, and that is the ability to not only keep track of yours and your player two's information all in one app. That's been the case since the beginning, and I feel like a lot of you can probably relate to this. My husband wants nothing to do with an app to keep track of his credit cards, and so the ability for me to keep track of my stuff and his stuff all in one app is priceless. But then on top of that, they added a feature this year where you can also add multiple businesses per user. There's a lot of instances where I open a business card and I don't remember, did I open it with my sole proprietorship with my social security number, or did I open it with my EIN business? Like, I can't keep track of all that. And so having the ability to not only add your card, but add which user it is for and now which business it is for is so helpful. And a lot of people also love the Card Genie. So it is a tool where it will recommend which card you should apply for next. And it's not just recommending some random card, it takes into consideration the cards you already have, the bank rules that may apply. Like, for instance, if you're at or over 524, it's not going to recommend any Chase cards for you. And so it takes all of those rules into consideration when suggesting which cards you should use next. So I that's a really popular feature with our audience, and I think it's really cool that it kind of takes the guesswork out of all that.
Yeah, sometimes I will even go to the Card Genie app for myself to see what it's recommending.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, little plug. We prefer if you use our own links than the Card Genie link. You can. We still get a little portion, but it works out a little better for us if you just go to our best cards page. But I will go look at that and be like, oh, okay, this is what Card Genie is recommending. And then I'll go to our best cards page.
Yeah. I never actually
freaking-
apply for Great
Yeah,
True. I always use our links, but yeah, I like it just to see like, what it's recommending.
totally agree. So I'm with you both. Like the ability to add different businesses per user, huge, huge benefit. We would get a lot of people that are like, I don't know if I opened my card up with my social or my EIN. Is there any way to know? And I'm like, I don't really know how to figure that out. So now there's a way to know. So huge benefit. And I'm totally with you, Mom. Like I don't know how I would track my 524 without the app. Like there's a level of work that goes into this hobby and keeping organized. And if you're not organized, it can lead you to not being able to get the cards you want to get. It can totally ruin your strategy. And this app like takes all of that away without like you using your own brain power to do it. So that's like what I love. I'm all about like working smarter, not harder. And this app does that.
I
So
have to. So it's funny because yesterday in stories, we were plugging the app and I put up a like question box and was like, what's your favorite feature of, I asked our audience what their favorite feature. I have to read you word for word what someone said. The whole app is like a foolproof external hard drive for my brain. And I was like, that's like the most accurate description I've ever heard of the app because that is literally what it is.
Seriously, we need to send that testimonial to Zach and ask that person if he can use it because that is so good. So anyway, if you don't have the app yet, go to the link in our show notes, download the app. You won't regret it. Next, we get a lot of questions about award flight search engines, and these can be a huge, huge time saver. Like I just said before, we're all about saving time and making things easier on ourselves. So we've had people ask us like, what's the difference between them all? Or like, how do I know which one to use? So my mom's going to share some of her favorites. We've had people ask like, can you do a podcast episode all about search engines? And I'm like, I don't know if we can talk for just 20 minutes straight about search engines, but we can definitely make them part of an episode. So we're going to do that right now. And my mom is the one who knows the most about all the search engines. So she's going to tell us about her favorites.
Well, I always say that the easy part of all the fun with points and miles is earning the points. The harder part is doing the redemptions. And before these search engines really came out, I could spend days booking one trip. And I mean, I'm still taking hours because I usually am not just relying on one search engine. So lots of times I'm using 2 or 3 search engines when I'm booking something, just because sometimes one will show something that another one doesn't show. And I've just found too many times that they can be a little bit different. And so I will use more than one usually when I'm planning, but they have so decreased my workload. I can't even imagine trying to do a redemption without them. So probably the other thing is, so what they do is search engines point you in the right direction. Doesn't mean that they're 100% accurate. If I find a deal, say we're going to talk about Points.Yeah first. It's Points.Yeah.com. Probably my favorite personal search engine that I use the most. There is a free and a paid version. I have the free and it works fine. It does everything I need it to do. And say I'm looking to go from Denver to London, I put that in and it gives me some great ideas on United, on Air Canada, different places. Well, until I go look on United and Air Canada, I don't know that those deals are really there. And sometimes I may go look and go, they're not there, but I'd say 70% of the time they really are there. So it points you in the right direction. So if I'm looking on Points, yeah, and I'm going to put in my, like I said, Denver to London, I can filter the cabins. I can filter, so you can look at all 4 cabins. You can look at economy, premium economy, business, and first class. Now, if I'm flying there, you know what I'm flying. I'm not going looking at economy or premium economy. I'm looking at business class, so I can filter there. It can filter down to the types of points and miles you have. So say you only have Chase Ultimate Rewards or Capital One Venture miles, it can show you just that. It can show you, you can put down the amount of taxes and fees that you want to pay. There are some of these that are going to be $1,000 taxes and fees. Now, I don't want to pay that. So I can filter down to say for business class, I'm willing to pay $400 and it will show me just those. And it can filter to how many stops. I'm not interested in taking 3 stops to get somewhere. And so I'm okay sometimes with 2 if I'm going to Asia, usually 1 going to Europe. And so you can filter all these things. And this free version will show you up to 4 days. So I can say, well, I'm going to go somewhere around April 4th, and I can look from April 4th until April 8th and see all of those days. Now, my very favorite feature of Points.Yeah is called the Daydream Explorer, and this comes with the free version and the paid version. So you can look at multiple departures and arrival locations. You can even look at a whole month at a time. This really works out great if you don't know exactly, what time. You have a lot of flexibility. Even if you don't know where you want to go, you just know you've got points and miles. You can say, hey, I'm going to start in the USA, and then I can put anywhere, and it will show
Well, and we
me.
get a lot of people that ask that. They're like,
Yes.
I have these amounts of points. I don't even know where we wanna go. Do you have any recommendations?" And we're like, that's so hard for us to help you with that because it's an entire world." So, like,
Yeah.
if you can narrow it down to, like, North America or a beach vacation or we wanna go to a city, but that's so great to know about that Daydream Explorer where people can just go if they don't even know where they wanna go and they have the points and just
Mhm.
go based off where there's a good deal using their points.
Yeah, and say I wanna go to Europe, sometimes I'm willing to go from the East Coast to position there. I can put in New York City, and then I can put Europe, or if I specifically wanna go directly to Paris, I can put that just really a really flexible app. It just opens up your search so much. I love it. Now, the paid version adds another 4 days, so you can look at 8 days worth of travel, and that's great. When you're doing the Daydream Explorer, you can actually look at a whole month. You can put like, okay, I am free the month of July. Where can I go? I want to go to Europe, and I'm going to put USA to Europe, and it's going to bring everything up for that whole month of July. And, it's just really amazing. Now, will say that it isn't good at it doesn't look at Singapore. None of these search engines seem to look well for Singapore Airlines. So if that's an airline I want to go on, or if I'm going somewhere to Asia, I'll always do a separate search on Singapore Airlines. One thing I love about this and about the next one I'm going to talk about, which is Seats.Aero, is they are really good for last minute flights. I am presently in London, and what's today? Today's the 24th, and I decided on the 11th that I was going to go. And I'm at my daughter's, and so I'm like, "Okay, I'm putting in, I wanna leave." What day did I want? I got here yesterday, duh. I've got a little bit jet lag, so so I wanted to leave the 22nd, so I put the 22nd, and then I put in Denver to London and crossed my fingers because I thought, "You know what? I just decided I really would rather not position if I don't have to." And last minute is a great way to find good flights. So I found a flight on United for 88,000 points. And like $5.60 in taxes and fees. I've got quite a few United miles. I didn't have to position, I didn't have to go to a hotel. Worked out great. So I love that deal. And it would have worked just fine too if I hadn't found anything from Denver, I probably would have put New York City or, put in anywhere I probably would have put USA, period, to London on the 22nd, and then look to see where I would most like to position to. So really, really good. Number one, it's my favorite one right now. Probably my number two favorite is Seats.Aero, and it is fairly similar to Points.Yeah. It is, there is a free version and a pro version. The pro version is by far more powerful. It can search a whole year out. It's $9.99 a month or $99.99 for a year. It too is really great when you have flexible dates. Like, again, you can search from North America to Europe, or you can narrow it down to California airports or to Europe. It's very similar, like I said, to Points. Yeah. The one thing that I really love about Seats.Aero, we love our Q suites, and it's got a Q suite finder. So your goal is to fly Qatar Q suites. You can go in there and put in your dates and where you're going to. Usually say New York City to Doha, New York City to the Maldives, and look on Q suites and find your Q suites. And that is a major time saver. Okay, on to another one that I've used a lot, and that's Point Me. Point Me is a paid subscription. They do, though, if you have an Amex card, they have a partnership with Amex. Now, what it's going to show you, it's free. It's going to show you what flights you can book with your Amex membership rewards. It's not going to show you what you can do with Capital One Venture Miles. If you want to do that, then you're going to need to get the paid version. It keeps track of your point balances that you have on your different loyalty counts, and so it can show you flights, just the flights that you have points with, so it really kinda narrows it down. I really like that feature, and then another really great feature is that they have a concierge booking service. We get a lot of people that say, "I've got this many miles and I wanna go here, can you help me?" Unfortunately, that's not a service that we provide. We tried doing that, but we just don't have the manpower to do it. But Point Me does do that. So that's always a possibility. I keep saying I'm going to do an ANA around the world trip, and I thought about using their concierge service to maybe book that. So just a
Yeah, I think all of those work great, and I like what you said about like checking different ones. You don't just rely not just relying on one because sometimes you will get different results. I feel like Seeds.Aero has a different interface. Some of the other ones look similar when you're on their website. They just look very similar. Seeds.Aero looks different than
Mhm.
the others. And I do think there is a learning curve to that one. But with that, there's so much power and it can do more than the other ones can, I feel like. But there's that learning curve. Like when I first saw it, I was like, what in the world is this? Like, how do I even do anything? And then I started figuring out, I was like, oh wow, I can do this and I can do this. And I can just put from like Salt Lake City to Europe and see what comes up for a whole year and then base like, oh, I found a good flight. We'll do that. So if you have a lot of flexibility, it's really, really nice. I will say too, if you are an Award Travel Academy next level student, we do have a video guide about Seats.Aero that you can check out inside the course.
Yes, and I agree with you. I felt the same way with Seats.Aero. It just looks different, and it just takes a little bit more time to get used to it, but it's very powerful. Another, I don't know if it's just really well, it's a search engine, but it's not an award flight search engine, and that's Flight Connections, and I really like to use Flight Connections, and it shows you available routing, especially it shows you for direct flights. So this I use a lot in pre-planning. So say I want to go to Thailand and I want to get primarily to Bangkok, but I don't know what airlines or what type of flights I should look at. I don't know what a direct flight to Bangkok is going to come from. So if I put Bangkok
We actually don't even have any from the US.
well, you're right, they don't,
So that makes it even
they do
trickier. Like,
have
where do
one.
I
They have one from Canada. So what I do is I put in Bangkok as a destination. I leave the departure completely blank, and it
Or you
shows
could put
me,
like North America maybe.
yeah, and it shows Vancouver and then many other places in Europe and Asia. So that shows me, and actually from Vancouver, it shows me that it's Air Canada. And so then I could go to the Air Canada site and check about a direct flight there, which is definitely a place I'd consider positioning to. I think it's only like a 16-hour flight from Vancouver. And so kind of a really good way to look at a search engine too. It also
Well,
is
yeah, I
great.
would have no idea that like, oh, I could fly to Vancouver, and then from Vancouver, I could take a direct flight to Bangkok. Like, I'm never going to have that in my brain.
Had
Go to
no
flight
I had
connection.
no
Like, oh,
clue.
that could
I
be a
thought
good way to get to Canada or to
I thought I
Bangkok.
had to get to Europe or Asia, so I was really surprised when I did that. So, but it does help you then, like, if you want to go if that wasn't the case, then it would show me, places that I could get a direct connection from Europe or another place in Asia. Kind of just, again, a time saver. Helps you in figuring out something that is way too much for my brain to figure out. And so I am a major lover of search engines. Can't even begin to imagine how I would go about doing redemptions now because it used to take me so long, and it's long enough and complicated enough that these search engines are the number one thing that I love when you're using credit card points and miles. So Jess
Yeah.
is going to talk to us.
Well, hold on. I was going to say one other thing. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to all of those different search engines for everybody. And I also am laughing because I'm like, we couldn't talk about Ford flight search engines for 20 minutes and do a whole episode. And I think that was about 20 minutes of talking. Maybe it was 10. I don't know. Maybe it was 15. I don't know, but it was longer than I thought. So maybe we could have done a whole episode
Well,
just on
yeah,
the Ford
and
flight search engines.
we're only hitting a few of them. There are a lot more award search
Yeah.
engines. So there's even more, and you just end up kind of picking out what works best for you. So if you don't like these that we're talking about, try another one. You're going to want to use some of them anyway. Okay, Jess is going to tell us about hotel award search engines.
Oh yeah, my favorite. I actually use hotel award search engines so much more than I use flight award search engines. So this is my jam. First of all, we have Flights by Jet. I mean, award hotel award nights. I do not do flights. Hotel award nights by Jess, and that's just
my
our
favorite one.
That's just our
Me
joke.
too.
If you are in our Facebook group, or we have a VIP Instagram channel, is that broadcast channel that anyone can join? I post a lot in there when award availability opens up at some of those harder to find availability at properties like the Conrad Bora Bora or the Grand Hotel Victoria or the Canvas EA Suites. Those are kind of the ones that I keep an eye on. So I will post like, hey, there's wide open availability at this during this month at this hotel. That's free. I don't charge anything for that. So if you're not in our Facebook group or in our VIP broadcast channel, then you should join one or both of those. Some other ones I use though, so Open Hotel Alert is one that I have used for quite some time now. That one is free. I think the website is just openhotelalert.com. If you Google Open Hotel Alert, it will come up, and we'll include a link in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put a link.
That one is the most helpful if you know where you want to go. Like, I know what hotel I want to stay at, but there's no availability. So I am going to set an alert for the hotel I want to stay at. You want to set an alert for the standard room. Like, if you want to use points, normally there has to be availability for the standard room. So you can select exactly which room type you want to set an alert for, which is really helpful. I also like that they'll text you. And so I'm going to talk about like Rooms.Aero as another option, but they only email you. And I don't check my email as much as I check my texts. And so the fact that Open Hotel Alert texts you and it's free is really great. So I used that one recently to set an alert for the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans because I was going to see Taylor Swift and there was shockingly no availability. And so I set an alert with Open Hotel Alert. I got the text, immediately went and booked it for 15,000 Hyatt points instead of $900 a night. So that's a great one. If you know where you want to go and you know your dates, great, great option. Another option is Max My Point. This is one that I pay for. So there is a free version of Max My Point. I personally pay for it because you get to see more recent results if you pay for it, which I find more helpful. Like to me, seeing the availability from like 3 days ago isn't that helpful. So I think I pay $7.99 a month for Max My Point. And I like the actual interface of Max My Point the most out of any of the ones I'm going to talk about. Super intuitive, super easy to use. It shows the most popular hotels right there on the homepage. You can search for the hotel you want. You can set an alert. You can set an alert for a range of dates, or you can just set an alert for a specific date. And that one will also email or text you or both, depending on how you want to be alerted. So I recommend the paid version of Max My Point if you're going to do it. You can try the free and see how it is, see if you like it. I think it's worth it for the paid to be able to set those alerts and to be able to
I
get like,
use the free, but that's because I have alerts by Jess, and I'll say,
yeah.
"Jess, can you set an alert in, Max
Yeah,
My
she
Point for
has
me?"
me set her alerts.
Hold on, let me just say, though, that we do pay for it on the business credit card.
Hey,
So, I'm paying for it too.
I'm paying for mine personal.
Oh, you can cancel.
Oh,
Gotta cancel that.
Yeah, we pay for it every month, $7.99 on the Travel Mom Squad
Okay, I'm
business credit
canceling
card.
mine. Yes, I'll be letting you know.
yeah. So I like, as far as the website and the intuitiveness of the website goes, I like Max My Point the best. Rooms.Aero is another option. It has a free or a paid option. I only use the free. So the only one I pay for is Max My Point. I don't pay for Rooms.Aero. I find the website, it seems like it's similar to Seats.Aero. I don't find the website intuitive at all.
Yeah, it's like the same. It's like a learning curve
Yeah.
for it, for
So
sure.
I have used it and so the downside of Rooms.Aero is email is the only option for getting alerted.
I'm wondering if you have Pro if you get text. I feel like maybe you do.
Maybe.
I'm actually trying to log in right now to see because I have the Pro Seats.Aero.
Okay.
But I don't know if that includes Rooms, so I'm checking.
So I don't pay for Seats.Aero or Rooms.Aero. The cool thing about it is you can like, if you just want a hotel in a city and you don't care what hotel it is, you can set an alert like for an entire city and just be alerted like if a room opens up. I actually also used Rooms.Aero to set an alert for the Hyatt Regency New Orleans for the Taylor Swift concert. I did get my Rooms.Aero email, I think like 12 minutes before I got my text from Max My Point or Open Hotel Alert, but I reacted to the text faster because I'd missed the email. And so that's just something to keep in mind.
Okay, so I did log in. If you have Pro, then you do get the text alerts.
Okay. So I personally do not think, like, if you're going to pay, obviously Open Hotel Alert is free. I don't even think Open Hotel Alert has a paid version. So that one is an easy one
Just
if you
kidding,
know
that
where
was
you want.
flight. Sorry, everybody. I can't figure it out because I don't have Pro for rooms. I only
Okay.
have Pro for seats. So I kind of wish you could just get both. Like, you got a deal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it seems like they
$100 a year
would.
for both, but they're two separate things.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I pay for Max My Point. I have no
Yeah,
reason to like cancel that and move to Rooms.Aero. I find
for
their
sure.
website not friendly. So,
Well, literally, you found like there's no, it's already working for you. You know, if it ain't
yeah.
broke, don't fix it. But I did double check again. They do have alerts for, I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. They have alerts for hotels, but you have to pay for it. Or for the text
For
alerts.
text. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, that's my hotel spiel.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your hotel spiel. We got the hotel award night queen and the flight booking queen. Now, I'm not the queen of either of those things, so I'm just gonna move on and talk about flexible date calendars. So, flexible date calendars don't sound very exciting, but then when you realize that there's actually a lot of power in them, it can be quite the game changer. So, a lot of airlines and hotels have flexible date calendars. They are helpful even if you don't have a lot of flexibility. So, if you're listening, you're thinking, well, I don't have flexibility. Like, I have these days I can go. If your day can even be changed by one day, you could potentially save a lot of points. So I still recommend checking them even if your dates are fairly flexible. So the flexible date calendars, you're going to find them just on that airline or hotel's website. So some of my favorites are Marriott's flexible date calendar. This is especially helpful if you have free night certificates. So with those Marriott free night certificates, they have them for like, I think is there still a 25K one, Mom? On one of their cards, or they get rid of it?
I thought it was
I
35.
I know there is a 35, but there used to be a 25 on a card too. My mom used to have that
What
one.
would that get you? Like a hostel?
For real.
They just moved up. It's with the 35 now.
Or those 35K, 50K, or 85K free night certificates. Sometimes it can be hard to find availability at the hotels, or not availability, but rates for that price. And so people, specifically, they'll be like, oh, I have, so every now and then, a few times a year, I would say Marriott comes out with an offer from like the Chase personal card or the Amex business card, where they'll offer a 5 free nights at 50K points each. And people will get so excited. They are like, this is so great. I'm going to use this and I'm going to go to Hawaii and we're going to stay at this amazing place. And you might be able to. I'm not saying you won't. Sometimes it works out. But you do not want to just go get that card and say, this is awesome, getting 5 free nights at an amazing place, because that might not happen. So you need to check the flexible date calendars before you ever apply for that offer. That's my thoughts about it, at least. If you routinely stay at hotels that are like mid-tier, then maybe you don't need to check that. But if you like to stay at really nice places and you're thinking you're going to use that to stay at a nice place, I would check the flexible date calendar first. So the reason you're going to check that is to make sure the hotel you're interested in staying at, where you want to use those certificates at, even has nights for 50,000 points. You can top the certificates off up to 15,000 points. If you found 65K nights, it could work. But these have to be the standard rooms as well. You can't be like, well, this suite is only 65,000 points, so I'll use that there. Like, that's not going to work. So you have to find the standard rooms that are 65,000 points or less when it comes to those 50K nights. So to use the Marriott flexible date calendar, you're going to go to that hotel website. You're going to search in the search box. You'll put in one night. You'll click the flexible dates button and it'll pull up the whole month. So then you can see the price per night for that entire month. So then you can look for those days where you can actually use those certificates. Then you can click through and see like month by month by month. So super, super helpful. I was even doing this before they had free night certificate, like how they do their free night certificates now, just to find the cheapest nights in general. If I'm using points, I don't want to go, because Marriott has dynamic pricing. The pricing is going to be based off the cash price. And so ideally, I don't want to use my Marriott points. If the hotel's costing 100,000 points a night, if I could go a different date and it be 75,000 points a night. So that can definitely save you a lot of points if you know how to work those flexible date calendars. So the other one I love is Hilton. This is also really important when you're wanting to redeem those free night certificates. Those can be used at virtually almost any Hilton property, as long as you find standard award night availability. So you need to know how to find those. And the flexible date calendar works very similar to Marriott, where you're going to put in you're just going to click the flexible date button, and then you'll be able to search month by month. So you can use, like Jess mentioned earlier, if you're looking for Conrad Bora Bora, Max My Point's going to be great as well. Hilton is going to be more accurate. Sometimes Max My Point and those search engines aren't always accurate. So I would always double check what you find there with the Hilton website. So another one, as far as airlines go, is Air France. Air France has become one that I love lately. So many good deals through Air France. So when you're wanting to find the cheapest dates with Air France and you're running your search, you're just going to leave the dates blank. You're going to put where you're going or where you're flying to and from, leave the dates blank. You can do economy, you can do business. Either way it works. And then it will just pull up a whole month views so you can see the price for each day of that month. I will say it's not 100% accurate. And so the good news is when I click on it and if it says like, oh, 20,000 points from Salt Lake to Amsterdam on the calendar, and then I click it, the date that still works. But sometimes there's more availability than they show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good news that it's not less availability, it's more availability. So you just keep that in mind if you do have some specific dates and it's not showing up on that calendar. Just click the dates you're interested in and it could be there. But that just makes it so much easier if you're like, okay, no, we want to go this summer, but I don't know what days we want to go.
Yeah.
You can just search the whole summer. And it's really nice too, because Air France will have 50,000 point flights from Europe to Paris, for example. And you can find those so much easier if you just leave the dates blank when you're searching. So another good one is American Airlines. This can be really helpful if you're trying to find those Qatar Q suites or Japan Airlines flights. You can, so you'll put in dates, but then you can select flexible dates. And then you can also search by class and it'll pull up the whole month view. So just kind of play around with it on those different hotel and airline websites. Most of them have them, like Southwest, United, Delta, they have those as well. And so it can be really helpful if you have any flexibility to find cheaper days to travel. So,
yeah, I use United I use Southwest, not for myself, but if I'm helping someone, because I'm not a Southwest buyer, but I use United all the time because that's my main domestic airline. So yeah, it helps so much. I wish every awards, every airline, every hotel had them. I wish Hyatt had them. Oh, come on, Hyatt, get those.
Right.
All right. Well, the last thing we're going to cover is setting up auto pay. So this is the second thing I do once I open a new card. So the very first thing I do is add the card to my Travel Freely app, like we discussed very first thing in the episode. Second thing I do is set up auto pay. Here's the deal. If you are missing payments and paying interest and paying late fees, then you are not traveling for nearly free, because the money that you're spending on those things is offsetting any of the travel rewards and benefits that you are getting. So it's super important to set up auto pay as soon as you get your card. I always set it up to pay the statement balance. As long as you are paying the statement balance each month, you will not pay interest. And so I always set mine up to make my payment on the due date and to pay my statement balance. Is that also what the both of you do?
Yes, that's what I do too. Yeah. Every now and then, if the balance is high, like if I just pay taxes, I might be like, I'm going to go pay a portion of this down because I don't want my utilization to be high. But 90% of the time, I'm waiting and just letting auto pay take care of it. And that's the big thing is people are like, how do you keep track of paying off all these cards that you have? I'm like, well, I'm not using every single card that I have, but I also have auto pay set up so I don't forget to pay one off, because that's when things get dicey.
Yeah. So super important to set up auto pay so you're not missing payments, you're not going into debt, it's not negatively affecting your credit score, because those are the biggest factors: on-time payments, payments in full, and by in full, we mean the statement balance, so that you're not paying interest. So just make sure you do that.
Okay, you guys. So these are some of the resources and tips that we find most helpful. We hope you find them helpful too. We've included links to all of them in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with your friends and families. If you'd leave a review, we would love it. And we really thank you for all of your support.
Thanks so much for listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Mom Squad. We can't wait to see where in the world Points and Miles take you.